the radius with the upgrade a little bit. I don't know how much, but a little bit. So it's not quite as big. And then you also nerf Disruptor Purification over range.
Okay, so you're kind of hitting all of the matchups.
Yep.
Okay.
Because yeah.
I mean, as far as balance changes go, I don't think any of those are actually that insane when compensated with other ones. No.
Oh, and also you remove the Marine. No, I'm just kidding.
You're right. I have no issue with any of the ones you just stated. I don't mind the Void Ray goes back to being a useless unit, to be honest. I don't find it fun to begin with.
Yeah.
So if all the reverting back to its original form means that it's never used again, that's fine with me. And I don't mind EMP being downgraded, but yeah, something would have to give, and a Disruptor nerf. To believe it or not, I'm actually maybe the most against any Disruptor nerfs. As bullshit as they can be, and I see why people don't like them, for multiple reasons, not just the fact that they kill one thing, they kill anything very quickly. But people don't like the space that they create or the amount of comebacks they create, and I'm like, okay, I kind of see your point. I do think that they're one of the funnest units, and that their position in PvT is quite good. So I do think if you're going to nerf EMP, you have to nerf something on the Protoss side, but I'm not sure I would want the Disruptor nerf.
Well, so the reason that I don't think you nerf the damage, I don't think you nerf the whatever, but I think if you nerf the range, so like the total range, and maybe the speed as a result, it still detonates in the same amount of time. This is just something theoretical, right? It for one helps compensate, like you still at that point maybe even you nerf lurker range a little bit. I'm not sure, because you need them to be able to counter lurkers, or at least deal with lurkers, because right now, like, a lot of the complaint is from Protoss players, and it's a valid one, is that, I have to go Skytoss because ground Protoss can't beat lurkers, and it's like,
it's a valid complaint, continues to use the nerd voice.
Yeah. Well, it's because, like, we see, like, the top level players, they don't necessarily need it to beat, like, you can beat ground Zerg with ground Protoss. It's just much more difficult than going Void Rays. But, like, Void Rays are just too easy to go for, in my opinion, like, by a lot.
Sure, yeah.
So I would like to see it, like, get back to a point where, equal skill is equal, like, results. Like, that's what I want to see more than anything. And, like, I want the game to be fun again for people at low levels. Or lower than pro.
Yeah, I always get tripped up on this whole idea of, like, people bring in the lower levels, because I really think you're talking about two different games and two different goals at that point. And I don't think you can actually do anything to help the lower levels so it doesn't just find something else to be complained about. I honestly think that, like, but that's a different discussion. I would say that I don't think the I'm thinking TvP specifically. As far as the ZVP, ZVT, whatever, like, that's fine. But as far as TvP goes, I think the biggest problem is actually, legitimately, I know I'm getting Marine Lord memed right now, but the DT blink.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So I definitely would have rather have seen something there than touch the Disruptor, which I think as a unit, its one hit kill, like, kills everything, is a bit not the best. Its space creation and like counter plays is just too interesting. So I'd rather see the DT blink, which I don't think really has very interesting counterplay or is very interesting in and of itself. It's like, they get the 10 DTs that they blink on the planetary. Awesome, cool.
Yeah, it's just gone.
Yeah.
Like it, yeah. I guess we should talk about this game a little bit. That's a lot of
maybe.
Reapers coming in from Clem. He's gonna try and go for this Cyclone, and he's gonna be able to get it. Oh man, this is gonna be a lot of damage. Special doesn't have any more factory units on the map. He's just gonna die right here.
Yes, he is. He actually is. The only thing that kind of stopped him from immediately dying was, I think, one of the Hellions got tripped up on the SCVs, so it wasn't attacking these two Reapers that are still alive for Special. But I think if everything was still firing all together after he jumped on top of that Cyclone, I think this would have been game over. The two Reapers die, a couple more Marines die, and then he can just continue snowballing. But as it is, 8 SCVs go down, the Cyclone went down, and Special probably shouldn't get anything with the two Reapers that go across the map. I mean, Clem still made a victory. Oh, he's going to kill Command Center. He's actually gonna kill that Command Center.
Oh, yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. He's going to get a lock on. And that's going to force him down the ramp, which is actually worse, I think.
Yeah, he can't. Without the auto turret, I'm not sure he has enough. A tank is going to pop, but he can target fire the orbital command. Oh, he's going to save it. He's going to save it. Orb mule's coming in.
If he had locked onto the command center, it's, I think it's dead. I think that's dead. But as it is, Special Skull holds by the skin of his teeth, and he does have a much faster third command center. He's only down 3 SCVs, so he's actually in a fine position, which is crazy considering he was like a quarter of an inch from dying.
He was pretty close to dying, but you're absolutely right. The fact that he's a third command center has really made up for the SCV loss from earlier, but he is still losing very important units. His Raven and his tank got taken down in that one push right there, and Clem's just not letting this go. Berlingrad is certainly becoming one of the better TvT maps. It creates such explosive games, and momentum is absolutely huge on this map as well. It's a bit shorter, and the direct line from natural to natural is giving us some good TvTs.
Oh, yo, let's go. The tank shot didn't kill that. I think it burned down with 1 HP. I think the tank shot literally got it to 1 HP, and then it just burned down instantly.
It's close, too. He finally realized it was going to die, and he was about to pick it up, but... no SCV repairs, man. That's just the, everything going so wrong so many times that something as simple as that slipped through the cracks.
Damn, that was cool. Berlingrad is my favorite new map, by the way. Like, it is. I just love it so much. By the way, sorry, I had to explain, because I didn't explain any of the balance changes that I was thinking about. So, the Widow Mine and the Lurker, for me, it's really important to me as a player and as a viewer that if someone gets caught out of position, they get punished for it. So if you get caught with your tanks unsieged, you get punished for that. That's a thing. If you get caught with your liberators unsieged, that's a thing. If you get caught with regular lurkers unsieged, you get punished. If you get caught with your disruptors not paying attention, you get punished. If you get caught with speed burrow lurkers or speed burrow widow mines unburrowed or unsieged, well, in this case unburrowed, doesn't matter. You just hit the button and they burrow instantly and they kill everything that came close, right? Like it feels like, now that's obviously not true, you know, you have ghosts, whatever, blah, 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 but it feels like that's the case, and I hate that from a fundamental perspective.
I do see your point, yeah. Widow mines are a bit trickier, I think, because to call them a siege unit, it's very inaccurate. So
I know, because they're so short range.
Yeah, they're short range. They're also just one shot before they have a cooldown, so you can't, you know, they can't really stick them somewhere and be like, well, this is my spot, because as soon as they're triggered, there's a lot more micro ability. You're not going to have a tank. The same way you can have a tank on a corner, you can't have the Widow Mine on a corner. I guess is what I'm getting at. So yeah. I do love the game design, like the thinking behind it. I do agree with it as well. But Widow Mines are in a really tricky spot. And I'm not trying to defend the Widow Mine as is, by the way. If the Widow Mine ended up being agreed upon as a bad unit for StarCraft, I'd be willing to accept it. But I'm not sure it's in line with the whole being found out of position, but that's a whole discussion, isn't it? Bring it up on the Pylon show.
It would be a fun discussion to have. Yeah. I think it'd be interesting. I think you could make a Pylon show legitimately just about those proposed balance changes, and I think it would be pretty interesting and pretty engaging. By the way, this is going to be a proxy 2 racks, and this is not the new age proxy 2 racks where it's like you go like 14-14, like where you cut a bunch of SCVs and you go really, really fast across the map. This is the old school proxy 2 racks where it's like pure macro that players just don't go for anywhere anymore because of the Barracks gas build.
Yes. I do think the 14-14 has existed in the past. So I would even say that it was an old build, a super all-in build as well. Because there used to be a difference as well. I think Specials actually talked about, he's the one doing it, so it's a bit topical, that if it was the most aggressive, basically all-in thing you could do with the 2 racks, then bunkers would usually be necessary for the Terran. And if it's not 16-16, then it's okay to defend factory expand with just the Reaper yourself. But this is really awkward. Very awkward indeed. Clem just had no idea this was on the way, so he is forced to still respond. Even though he has a factory expand that is the best case scenario, he still has to make sure that he responds correctly and doesn't lose his Reaper. And that is a great start. Bopping the Reaper away from the ledge.
That is not often that you see the Reaper grenade just throw him off the cliff. Like, that was That was just cool because that wasn't special going back down. That was the grenade forcing him back down and then the ability being automatically activated. Yeah, the fact that the reactor was started and then canceled means this Marine's a little bit late. Still, this should be an easy hold for Clem, no problem.
Yeah,
but of course, special didn't commit that hard.
I'm a little surprised that Clem is trying to going to bother going for a bunker, but I think that is maybe better safe than sorry because he is also planning on just expanding from here on out. So he is just making sure he doesn't take any damage. The last thing I wanted to say on this game, like balance and design thing, is that it's just I'm such a Debbie Downer about this. I'm like the lamest person to ask on this Pylon show because it is kind of cool to think about it and think about the repercussions, and I see how people have fun with it.
I know where you're going with this.
Nothing's gonna happen, so I don't really care.
Yep. As soon as you started that, I knew that what you were gonna say, and yeah, you are corrected. We're not gonna get a balance patch, I don't think.
No.
Barring something insane.
I think we will get a balance patch eventually, but it's gonna be something really small, like speed reduce on Void Rays.
I would still take it.
Yeah, no, I definitely would take something rather than nothing. But even before Blizzard abandoned any content for StarCraft 2, I never necessarily thought these were very conducive discussions. Like they didn't really go anywhere because oftentimes we'd have these shows and these discussions and it'd be like this or this and this sounds like a good idea, this sounds like a good idea. And only once can I think of when it actually was heard and agreed with by the developers who then implemented it. And I can't even remember what it was. Can't even remember what it was.
Swarm host Nidus?
No, I don't think so. It was something very specific. Like there was a problem and someone said, hey, this would be a really cool problem. And then even in the actual notes that they gave us, they said, the community came up with this idea and we think it's a good idea. And I was like, swear it's the only time I've ever seen that. Otherwise, even if they did take a community idea, they never gave it credit.
Oh, true. Was it something with the mule?
No.
Was it? No. Okay, because that got reverted, which was so stupid in my opinion. The like mule quality of life thing.
Oh, that's right. I do remember that. Yeah.
I remember seeing like someone was like, "Oh man, like why did they do this?" And they were like, "Actually, it's like a buff to Terran." And then people were like, "No, it's not."
No, it's
not. And
not.
then they reverted it.
That's a bit silly. Yeah. Maybe someone in chat will know, but it was 4 or 5 years ago. I want to say. So.
I do want to point out something about this game that was pretty cool, is that Special really, really went non-committal with this. Like, he only built 3 Reapers, didn't go hard with it, and even built a couple of Marines from the barracks in case of a counterattack, and then just lifted off. Like, he basically did this as like a 2 racks expand, you know? Like, he did this as though it was almost a defensive 2 racks, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Like it was so non-committal, and that's kind of cool to see. And he ended up being in a totally fine position. He's actually ahead on workers by like a significant amount, considering the game state.
Yes, he is. It's actually very surprising that he's up. I wouldn't be too surprised by 2 or 3, but 5. I'm wondering what exactly happened, because Clem does have a faster 3rd CC, and he is going faster into. Bio, because Special's going into... Okay, well, that makes sense. Special's going into mech. So we've got a faster 3rd CC, but even that's not, like, that much faster. Was it planting 10 seconds between each other? So, we were talking about other things, need to pay attention. But now that we know it is Terran Bio versus Terran Mech, Clem's going to have to figure this out as well. Special's been playing a lot more mech, so it's possible he's already got this in mind on Blackburn. But he is going to want to add tech labs eventually to these barracks. So the first additional ones, he might add reactors, and that's fine. But the next 2, he should add tech labs.
Yes, that would be the ideal situation. As it is, like, even taking this forward base is almost a little bit of a tell. Like, it's almost a little bit of a tell. You're like, oh, man, this is kind of weird for you to take this forward base. Like, what you doing there, Special?
Yeah, he scans. I think you're spot on. He's like, oh, really? Yep. That base? Oh, there it is.
And that is going to lead to tech labs, for sure. Yep. Very good. Ooh, this is a nasty position to deal with. Oh, Special. I don't think he saw this coming. And he's going to have to, lift off this command center. Not going to lose many SCVs, but he'll lose a lot of timing. Oh, hold the phones. Clem's going to go for it.
No. Well,
that was... unnecessary.
It might have been a bit unnecessary. I can see how it might have worked out, but you know, it really wasn't it is barely... Nothing happened from it. As in, he didn't take a bunch of losses, and Special didn't take a bunch of losses. Clem kept all of his Ravens alive, and he's going to go back and repair them, and then his army didn't commit. So, fair is fair. Nothing happened from it. Just some energy was used on either side. Much more important was, yes, that Special had to lift up his 3rd CC. Always a bit of a weird game to play as a mech player, building up your very slow-building, expensive units that kind of need more units to really be worth it. To be protecting your 3rd CC from those tricky positions and not letting yourself get concaved on. That's the game the mech player has to play until they have, 10 tanks or something. So Clem gets a little bit of a lead there, but not too much.
I would argue that it was opportunity cost lost. Hold the phone. We actually have an attack through the middle. Oh, scan going to come in from Special. Clem actually doesn't see where... Oh, okay, there he scans. Now he sees it. Yeah, I would say it was opportunity cost more than anything. Oh man, I don't know if I like this push out of Special. Feels a little bit audacious.
He might be all right. Problem is, yes, this tricky area is that you are going to get concaved on right here. So if they have enough, that's where you're going to get really tested. Your way over to the base, going to the slow zones is not bad, and going up to the natural isn't bad, where Clem's army is. Then you're going to have a choke on your side again. But right here where Special is, it's a little more difficult, but he has slowly encroached his way to the choke that I was talking about. Also about to hit some of the reinforcement line as well. And if Clem doesn't get a good surround of some type, or maybe some really good interference matrix, which he can still absolutely do, this is going to be tough to break. But I think he can. He saved all 3 Ravens.
He did, and he's got a ton of energy ready to go. So this is easier said than done, but if he just comes from an angle that Special is not prepared for with those Ravens, and it's going to be so hard for Special to prevent that. If he just does that, you'll see, either 10 auto turrets or and you can see he's trying to build those missile turrets. Not going to happen though. Yeah, Here comes the flanking Ravens, interference matrices, 6 of them coming on down, and that is going to be Clem moving on forward. He will absolutely crush this push.
And I gotta say, if it weren't for the Ravens surviving, this would have been really tough. The fact that the Ravens survived after what looked like to be was a big gaffe, and you're saying it was maybe it was not worth it because the opportunity of another push was gone, and you're right about that. It is still so important that the Ravens lived. I feel like they should not have. In any other type of situation where the Terran pulls the trigger like that, the Ravens, at least 1 or 2 of them, are the first thing to go. But because they were saved, he gets to break out of that very scary push. Perhaps the scariest push that Special's going to have, because now Special has to rebuild and he has to play the defensive turtle game as a mech player.
So here's a funny scenario. Special should have lost 6 Vikings there, but because there was almost no Marines in the army of Clem, he gets away with almost all of them. Not going to matter because Clem is going to outproduce him very shortly. He's actually already going to pass that Viking number in the next 10 seconds. But it's just funny the way that worked out. Sorry, what I meant by opportunity cost before, just to illustrate, was he had the position. He could have forced that orbital command to completely abandon that base if he just stayed in the position. And he would have killed off the gases. It would have been the gases that would have been the big deal. He did still kill one of them off. He did still deny a lot of mining time, but it could have been even better just by not doing anything. And I think that would have been the move.
It's possible.
But
it's possible.
It still went very well for him. So that's
Yeah, it's not even that it went well. It just went kind of neutral.
Well,
neutral
yes.
was good enough. Gave him the defense back at home. But now, as we go into the later stages of TvT, it is about Clem getting his own air superiority. You could try and break Special with just bio, but it's such an old-fashioned way of playing because it is kind of bad. Eventually, if the Terran player isn't going to get broken, usually around that 150 supply, that means they're going to get maxed out. That means that the bio army is just worse. That is actually how it's going to go. So you need to get to the air army. Clem knows it. He's still going to play around with a big old bio ball, hoping to catch little picks here and there, as well as just make sure that Special feels threatened, so it doesn't just expand all over the map. But it really is about the Liberators, the Vikings, the additional production. Special also very well aware of that. He's going to have to play this very carefully. He's going to have to push, but then be aware that he might lose the Viking game and then have his own transition ready to go, which is already happening here. So then with the transition for him, apparently he's going to rely on some very, Very risky Cyclones. Is that the word I'm going to look for? I was going to say the Cyclone upgrade's on the way. And Cyclones, they build fairly fast, and they are fairly fast units, and they can kind of cover your tracks for a little bit. They can cover you for a while, but they're not dependable. Thors are a little more dependable, but even they are going to eventually lose out to someone who's really doing well with the Viking Liberator combination.
Yes, exactly. And it's tough to deal with this, especially on a map like this, where there's not a lot of places to like find gaps in Liberator zones. This is the kind of map where I specifically wouldn't want to go for Cyclones. We have seen a little bit of harass coming in from Special over the last little bit, and he's actually knocked Clem's SCV count quite low, but I don't think that matters too much. I do want to point out, oh, I actually don't know what I was going to say anymore. The time has passed on it. Oh, Hellions and Hellbats. He forced out a lot of Hellions and Hellbats by taking such a good fight in the middle and threatening to just overwhelm him with bio. And now we're going to see a lot of useless Hellions and Hellbats, and we're going to see a lot of tanks and Vikings going down. And this is going to be something that we've kind of seen getting... This should have happened, or could have happened, for the last, like, 3 or 4 minutes, basically.
Special doesn't really have quite a response. I think he was hoping that he would be able to be aggressive for a little bit longer while he builds up some answer to the Liberators. And at the end of the day, he doesn't take like a terrible trade on the ground, but he wasn't about the ground for Clem anyways, and it's just remaxing so much faster. Yeah, he didn't actually have the appropriate timing of being able to push with a decent ground army and cover the Liberator threat. If he had 4 Thors show up while the Liberators got sieged up, he can tear them down until there's just too many Liberators. And I do think eventually Special would have been pushed back. I think Special's been playing a losing game for a while at this point, but it would have been a little bit more contested. Now it doesn't feel contested at all. Now it feels like Clem has got him in his sights and is just going to push to victory within the next 2 minutes, I would say.
You think it's going to take that long?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. This game feels very, very over. A little Hellion run by on the top side, which is nice. Special's been slipping these run bys in every which way, but this is just a matter of Clem being way too efficient. Like, the resources lost is just absolutely devastating.
Wow.
He's going to get another command center. This is just phenomenal play out of Clem.
Played it pretty perfectly. The only rough thing might have been defending the push from Special, but the Ravens made it a lot easier. Now here comes the Thor versus Liberator problem. If there are enough Thors, they will take out the Liberators. So we can see that happening here. The Thors, sometimes they get choked up on each other, right? They're such big, bulky units. If they go through their own choke, then it's going to be really awkward. Only 3 of them are firing. If there's 10 Liberators with range, Thors are not going to win that out long term. But yeah, you can sacrifice a few Thors, win the first battle, but who's going to actually end up with the better situation? Probably still the guy with the Liberator, unless that was one of their last armies. But that's definitely not the last army for Clem. He's also not just building more Liberators and going to win by just pure numbers. He's also going to have a ground army again, which the Thors are going to struggle a little bit to do both jobs all by themselves.
Yeah, Thors are really good. They're like one of the best units in the game, you know, on an individual basis. But they can't fulfill every role at once, unfortunately for them. Clem even getting that Smart Servos upgrade, which is going to make the Liberator siege up hella fast. And yeah, they're wait, actually no, does it?
Yeah, no, it doesn't affect
no, it doesn't.
sieging.
Does it make them unsiege faster?
No, it only does Vikings and Hellbats. But
okay.
Get into that in a second. The Liberators are sieged up, but that is a decent concave there from Special. So his Thors are probably the most effective Thors that I think I've ever seen. Usually there's some type of choke, but it looks like Clem, overconfidence, and I understand the overconfidence because I was totally on Clem's side, pushes him into a position where he's just totally concaved by, you know, an equal number of Thors. And that is something that the Liberators could not hold up against, and he's forced to retreat and kind of rethink his plan. I still think he has this game, but he can't do another attack like that. If he does an attack like that, then Special can push into his production. We know that that's game over for Terrans.
Yeah, we've got the resources lost now evening up. And it's so funny because normally you take down these rocks because as a buyer player versus mech, you're like, I want the concave. I want the biggest spread. But it was actually Special who benefited the most by a huge margin from these rocks being taken down by Clem, and that's just funny conceptually, because that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, I think Terrans just see a big open concave and they're like, yes! If you really thought about it, Clem probably should have said no. like, no, it's not going to benefit me. He's probably never going to make that mistake again, at least not so bad, but I could see him making a bit of a mistake again, because now the map has opened up. Blackburn is a very good map for reducing the concave ability for a good 15 minutes, because no one breaks these rocks that fast. But as soon as the rocks are broken, outside of, you know, being found in the worst possible area, the choke with the slow zone in it, there's much more ability for a concave. And funnily enough, the Thors, as slow and bulky as they're kind of the faster army at this point, just because the Liberators have the siege.
Yes, yeah, and of course the high impact payload. Oh, it's the Thors that have the quick high transform. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yes.
Okay.
I knew there was something else, but I was like,
yeah, I was like,
one.
So it's actually funny. It's the opposite way in this scenario. Because in theory, if the Liberators were super, actually, that's something we don't see ever, is trying to abuse the fact that like air is heavily clumped, and like quickly switching between high impact payload and like the javelin missile thing. That could be really cool. Like as a Terran player, like with Thor's trying to take advantage of that.
Yes, as that specific person, yeah. The situation has gotten a lot more complicated. I still think that Clem is doing what he should be doing. As far as going into the air, I think that is the ultimate call. What I think you might be getting stuck on is something that usually you don't find yourself stuck on. Because usually you've won the game by now. But, oh, okay, here's maybe the Liberators finally shining. Okay, this is what it's supposed to look like, guys. I do feel a little validated at this point. But I was going to say...
I was worried.
If it is a continued problem, if it was a continued problem, then Ravens might have been a good addition as well. Because in Clem's position, he could have afforded to make a lot of Ravens, as well as decent number of Liberators, and he could have just interference matrix all the front Thors, and the back Thors are like, we can't get past, no. So that also could have been an option, but he finally gets what the Liberators should get, which is they should win these late game fights.
I will say that was Special deciding for not really any reason at all to just try and shove in from one angle when the big success had come from hitting like a 270-degree surround. Like this, that was Special forcing the issue in a way that I don't think he really needed to, considering the way the armies were set up. And now Clem, he has retaken the complete control of this game, and we're going to see one last break attempt come in from Special, but I think this is the writing on the wall here.
Yeah. Definitely took more than 2 minutes, though.
It sure did, yeah. And kudos to Special for, like, using Thors like their stimmed bio.
It's kind of like blitzing in there and hoping it works out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, coming in from just like a gigantic concave, like an unexpectedly large concave.
Yeah, I think that's that's really the only option that the mech player has when they get beaten out with like Liberator Viking, is to get a concave and blitz. So they do kind of in a way become the bio player, the speedier player, the one that needs positioning to be on their side. Yeah, that was a surprisingly long game. Special almost made it too different from the usual TvTs, I think, is kind of what happened there, where Clem's saying, oh, well, I've won because I'm doing the right thing.
Yes.
And you're not, but you still won. And it felt like Clem was maybe going to falter, but he was doing the right thing. So glad to see that TvT still makes some sense. But I gotta say, as the whole 21-minute game goes, I was a little surprised by how Special ended up having to play that. I thought once he realized that he was losing the Viking War, because he basically saw that he was losing the Viking War and still committed to an attack. I did think he was going to try to turtle, but I see how he also could have thought, I need to provide some pressure. I can't just let him get across the map, because that also is very fair.
Yeah, it's always tough to make that decision in the heat of the moment, because like there's always a limited amount of information. It's easy for us to see, like, oh man, yeah, it's so dumb. But like at the same time, he knows that he lost the Viking War. Like that's not really hidden information. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things that maybe you lose the trees in the forest type thing, and you're just like, oh well, I have to go. Like he's going air. Like I gotta make something happen. But it's well, You can't. Like you've already made your one miracle. You're not going to get another.
Yeah. I do say that the entire game plan from Special on a map like Blackburn is the push through the middle. I think that is where Mech is going to find its most powerful position, because it can kind of abuse a little more of the choke and the one-dimensional pathway of that map. And the concaves aren't necessarily that great because no one breaks the rocks down that fast. Theoretically, it's a very good idea, but we can see, I guess in that game, necessarily why it won't work. You know, Ravens were huge. It also kind of describes Special for me is that he has very good theories. He has excellent planning, and then things just don't quite go perfectly. So we kind of go, cool. Anyways.
Oh no. Anyways.
Yeah, that's it's still unfortunate. You know, I'm actually quite a big fan of Special's play. So when he still, like, he does these cool things and he does these cool ideas and he figure out the mind games that he's trying to work with, and they just fail anyways, I do feel bad about it. I feel sad.
Yeah, it's there was a few moments during the season finals where I remember that happened and I was like, oh man, like what a cool move, like this is so awesome. And then he would just botch the execution just a little bit and I'd be like, fuck.
Yeah. He either botched the execution just straight up, like, not to be too cruel, but that has happened, or just he almost sometimes gets a little too clever, and that can happen as well. Yeah, right.
It's like when the you know that I know that you know that I know that you know that I know,
yes.
And then like the player doesn't even scout it.
Exactly.
And it's like you've gone like 7 layers deep in Inception, and they haven't even seen the movie.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, we do have a proxy barracks again from Special, but it is a single proxy barracks. So we're going to have Marauders come out here. And that can provide more of a contain, honestly, than anything else. That's mostly what I see from Marauder proxies nowadays.
Yeah, you're usually looking at, if you can, you pick off 1 depot. If you're really fortunate, you get 2. It's probably not going to get much more than that. Now, it is reactor first. I feel like I don't see this interaction very often. We do see reactor first a lot more. Mm-hmm. This is better for Clem, no? Because he's going to be able to get that production done as soon as possible, particularly on this. If it was on the other side and the reactor was in the wall, this would not necessarily be the best. But because it's in the back, it's a lot better for Clem, right?
I think you're right. You're right in a couple of fronts. Like, one, this is much more of a unique situation than any other that I've seen against Proxy Marauder. Usually we do see the Reaper first or the Reaper Marine or something along those lines. But to have the reactor already done, I guess the question becomes, does he have to cancel the command center? Because he got a very fast command center in his build. And then if he has to cancel the command center, then I think that's a good enough for Special. I think he still feels okay about this. I think he has to cancel it. Yeah.
Oh my! Why did he do that? There was literally no gain from holding it alive for that long.
Yeah, that was a little too close for comfort. He really didn't want to give up on it, but that is the case. You know, we were talking theoretically the Reapers defend the high ground. I think they can. But if you have to also defend your low ground command center, then yeah, that's where I think you're kind of screwed regardless of how you open, whether you had Marines or Reapers or Reactor first or not. So that's that part of the build is quite unfortunate. Oh, what am I just getting a Marauder,
well, that's very fortunate. Yeah, and he actually splashes both of the other Marauders. He is going to get a supply depot though, because these Reapers went aside on the other side of the map. I actually don't think I like the Reapers going across the map at this timing, unless it was a lot earlier.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess I just don't see very much else the Reapers could have done. They would have been able to throw grenades twice and buy a little more time, but I think the supply depots go down no matter what. So it's kind of, I think that's what most Terrans have to sacrifice when they're up against proxy Marauders in that contained scenario that Clem has found himself in, is they usually use the supply depots.
I feel like in this scenario though, with the Widowmine, I think he could have kept them alive. But maybe you can't rely on the Widowmine. Like, well, you definitely can't rely on the Widowmine getting that splash. Oh, he's going to lock on onto the Widowmine. Ah, that's so nice.
Is it worth it, though?
For the scan? Almost definitely not.
Yeah, I was like, this is not that important anymore. It's already done its job. If this was, you know, something like the 4 Reaper, or 3 Reaper, 2 Hellion, and he takes out the Widowmine, oh, of course, then maybe it is. But That wasn't his build. His build already happened. The Widow Mine already did its job, and then he cleans up the Widow Mine for the cost of 270 minerals.
Well, it's 225 now, isn't it?
You might be right. You might be right.
The one thing I will say is that I feel like Clem could have prevented it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Once the scan came down. That's where my head's at.
Well, regardless, it was Special's choice.
Oh.
This is a little more effective for the Cyclones. They don't actually complete the destruction of Clem's Cyclone, and I'm surprised that Clem... Oh, he wanted the Raven! Oh, I was going to say, I'm really surprised he commits to this. But even though he does lose his Cyclone, I would say that is worth it. Now, that's a lot for Clem to lose. That was all the Marines he had built up, and that was his own Cyclone. But Ravens are so expensive, so slow building, and so impactful to the game. More impactful than a Cyclone's going to be if we go into tank Raven.
Now, what do you think about the loss of that Cyclone, considering the fact that he's going for additional ones and has gone for the Magfield Accelerator upgrade? Like, it's still so valuable to get the Raven, but I feel like the game plan to sack for it is a little bit weirder in that scenario.
I still like it. I still like it. I think you're
Still
always
like
going
it?
to trade
No.
out a Cyclone for a Raven. I think most pros would agree with me, but I'm not 100% about that. But
Yeah. It's just such a unique situation to also be going for the Magfield Accelerator.
True.
Oh,
True.
and he's not going... Okay, he's going bio, but he's gone for 4 Cyclones. This is a big commitment here.
Yeah. So Special actually goes for a scan, too, which I am a little surprised by. Nothing else. He doesn't know about the Cyclones. So
Yeah, so it's weird that he went for that, yeah.
Yeah, usually you just kind of assume that it is going to be into tanks, into Ravens,
Ooh.
and then a little later on you might worry about scanning from mech.
I think I know what this I think I know what this Cyclone upgrade is for. I think he's going for exactly this. I think he's going for a quick snipe on the 3rd command center. Because Magfield Accelerator
Good.
Cyclones kill buildings so fast.
I don't think it'll be successful though.
I don't think it will either.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's the game plan when you create this opener. I do think you're hoping that they push into you and you can lock on to 3 very important units. So Raven, Tank, and Cyclone is the only options right now. Any one of those is a great grab for Clem. So I'm still like, I don't love the Cyclone upgrade opener, even though I know what the value is and I've seen it work before. I'm still cold on it. But I do think it's all about gaining that mid-map control and taking down these expensive units that are very impactful if they live throughout the rest of the game. Whereas the Cyclones, as long as they trade, you don't really cry over them dying. And they're trading, so Clem's not going to cry.
Yeah, I think I would have liked to have seen, once he's traded 1 Cyclone for 1 Raven. Oh, we're going to see an attempted snipe on Stim. Oh, he's going to get it.
Yes, he is. That's really
That's
nice.
really nice. Yeah, and even getting a couple SCVs, recognizing that he was easily going to get it, so he let them free fire until the SCVs were pulled, and then goes for it. That's a nice little, like, micro decision. He will lose both Ravens. And that's pretty
True.
damn expensive. Oh, is he going to get his opponent's Raven? Nope, Clem will move it away. Good job. I think I would have liked to have seen, after he traded the first Cyclone for the first Raven, I think I would have liked to have seen Clem stop building Cyclones, not get the Magfield Accelerator, and then just go from there.
Yeah.
I think that would have been, in my... Because, yeah, look at the supplies right now. Holy crap. This is a huge lead for Special.
Yeah. I was going to bring that up, too. I also still don't like the Magfield Accelerator. I can see how it works. I can see how it trades effectively, but I do still wonder if he thought it was going to be something else, a different follow-up from Special. So, yeah, that supply is a big difference. Clem is going to have to make up for 30 army supply, 20 army supply, and about 10 workers. And he's got later stim, thus later combat shields. The only thing he had going for him was that he had slightly faster upgrades, because he had both on the way, but because Specials was much faster, he's going to have pretty even upgrades, actually. So it's not even worth talking about. He's going to try and come in here and win the game right here, right now. It's not actually going to work as well as Special was hoping for. You can see how it might have worked, but unfortunately everything did not quite line up together, and suddenly Clem does hold with worse supply. And now he has better supply.
Oh, that was such a bad move from Special. He was just literally hoping that Clem didn't drop auto turrets.
Well,
And Clem dropped like 4 auto turrets, and it just everything got wrecked.
I do think there's one other thing though.
Oh my
like, it's
God.
possible he was hoping that the Ravens wouldn't get the auto turrets down. Oh
No, don't. Oh, he's gonna get it again. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
That's actually so huge because now it's going to be combat shields Marines versus unstimmed, unshielded Marines. Oh, he's even gonna get the Raven there. This is actually, despite the supplies being really in favor of Clem, I think I actually still like Special's position now.
Oh, wow. There's so many weird things happening. Okay, so just final note. The auto turrets were great, but also the fact that Clem's tanks fired to the left as opposed to all focusing on the right, because I think the Marines come in a little bit faster. If they actually live to get the full concave, I think it's also complicated. But then other thing I was going to note is that this game is weird. Clem only has 3 barracks, but he's getting his 4th command center. So I was going to suggest that maybe he should use his other barracks for a tech lab to get 2 tech labs to make up for the stim being denied so he can get stim and combat shields. But he doesn't have enough barracks to even do that.
Oh my god, it's going to happen a 3rd time, not like this. How?
This game is so funny because it still looks like it's even. But it's really not. Oh, the supplies do not tell the tale.
The one thing I will say... Oh man, drops in the natural? Yeah, the one thing I will say is that Clem's 2-2 is like faster, especially his +2 weapons is much faster than that of Specials. God, this game makes no sense at all. Like, it's literally like Clem is playing mech because he's on so few barracks and because he has no stim.
Yeah, right?
This is just the weirdest game I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's actually not true. There's so many weird ones, but this is very weird.
This is the weirdest TvT that isn't just so stupidly weird, right? Like,
yes,
there's enough small
it's weird for good
details.
reasons.
Yeah, so to be clear, guys, Clem, he did choose to go for a 4th command center really fast, but had he not been interrupted so many times, he might have also been able to get 2 barracks kind of around the same time. Did he just build 2 barracks and then cancel them? He fucking did. I don't even know why.
And then he rebuilt them immediately.
I don't even know why. But then he got harassed, so he could only afford 400 minerals for a command center, and then he never got around to affording 300 minerals for 2 more barracks. But then I think at one point he realized he didn't have a whole lot, so he was like, what do I get? 2 barracks or 1 factory? So he built a 2nd factory, which I think that is, if you're thinking about this game really hard, I think that is the proper answer when you're restricted on mineral income. Is to get as many tanks as possible, like you said, kind of playing like a mech player. But it's such a weird position. You'll never see a Terran in this position ever again. 4th command center before they have 5 barracks. That, in any matchup, I don't think it ever happens.
4th command center before they have 5 barracks or stim.
Yes, that's
true. And a 5th command center on the way before stim completes.
Oh.
All right, here we come in with the concave, but I think there's an... Oh, no, there's not enough tanks. Yeah, we see why stim is so important right there in that fight.
Yeah. If Clem had his tank siege from the get-go, it might have been different. But 3 of them were on siege for a bit, so there's a big concave opportunity for Special. It looks like he's still going to hold on surprisingly well on the supply, and he's finally going to get stim as he finishes his 2-2. And he's got he's got a 4th base and a 5th on the way. What the?
Yep. And 2-2 is fully done. And +3 on the way before stim actually completes.
What is this upgrade list? Oh, 2-2 and Magfield Accelerator.
Oh, man. Funnily enough, we have concussive shells from Special. Hold that thought. We are going to see it moving forward here into the siege tanks. And, well, we once again see the power of stim. It's a very important upgrade to have. And combat shields.
Yes, I actually love Clem's trigger discipline. You know, you should talk about that in an RTS, but he didn't stim his Marines on purpose. It's not going to help him to stim them for a lot of the time. So he didn't stim them until just that last second, and even the previous battle, he didn't do anything with them. So I actually quite like that. I don't think... It's such a valiant effort to make up for all of these losses. He should never have ever been able to play this game out. After that stim was denied the first time, I would say he was pretty dead. And the second time and the third time, all of his late production, like, I felt like Special was supposed to roll over him minutes ago. But even with everything, like, smartly decided, Clem is using his brain in a very difficult scenario. I still don't think it's going to be enough, but Jesus.
He's made it look like... He's given himself a fighting chance, which he should not have been able to do. I want to note, by the way, that Special is on 8 reactor barracks. Oh, he's going to get caught on siege, though, is Clem. And Special's just going to push on through. And he will find himself a map here. But yeah, he was building 16 Marines at a time. That is about the most we will ever see a Terran player build at once at the pro level.
He was up to 8 barracks before Clem was up to 5.
That's that that is something we just don't see.
No, we don't.
Oh my god. Everything about this game was like like we had like 5 things that were unprecedented in this game. We had Stim being sniped 3 times. We had 2-2 finishing before Stim. We had 4th command center before 4th and 5th barracks. It was just, it was a laundry list of like firsts in this game.
Yeah, it was insane. The only time I can think of a 4th and 5th barracks being after 4th command center is maybe some TVZs, where the Terran does get the, like 630 4th or something, like insanely fast. Not 6, I think it's 7. I think 7's the fastest 4th CC I've ever seen, but that's also very rare. To have it in TvT, I think, has just never been done before. Never been done in a professional game where they know how to do build orders. I should make maybe that very clear before someone raises their hand in chat. And it's like, I make sure to build 8 command centers before I get Stim.
Like, oh man, so there's a funny story of a player. Have you heard of Spades?
No.
Okay, so Spades is a player who actually, they were known as a map hacker because they map hacked. Okay. And this was in the very early stages of the video game. And they used to use their map hacking, so the knowledge of what their opponent was doing, to delay Stim. To save the resources and delay Stim.
Their Stim?
Which is their Stim, their own Stim. Instead of getting Stim, they would spend the money on other things. And it was like, but like there was no good reason for it. It was just a bad decision, like fundamentally. And so it just like really displayed how poor of an understanding this person had about the game.
Yeah. Imagine map hacking and still being so terrible.
Yeah, right. Literally, and it was in like 2010, 2011. Exactly. So like people wouldn't have thought like, oh man, like what he's saying is like really sus, like really suspicious, because he actually said it during an interview once. That
he makes sure to stop Stim, delay Stim.
That he would delay Stim as like a way of playing greedy. And it's like,
okay.
And it's like, well, like that's not really a good thing to do, because having Stim is always a good thing. Like you wouldn't be like, oh man, I'm gonna, like if you're like, I want to cut an upgrade for a timing or cut an upgrade for something. Stim is one of the upgrades you would literally never do that for. Not even like the only time you might do it is if you're doing like a combat shield based push off like 3 barracks in a factory with siege. But he was never doing that. It was like, I'm going to do it so I can get like a faster second command center or third command center or something. I was like, what you're describing is very nonsense.
Yeah. Well, yeah, people did not know any better back then. It's a very different game. But also, eventually, map hackers are always found out.
Yes, and he did get found out. And then there's a famous quote from Idra where he's like, yeah, I played him in an MLG, and he couldn't map hack, so it was pretty easy, so I danced ultras at him.
I remember a lot of players saying similar things. Like, yeah, I know he map hacked, but once we met on LAN, it wasn't a problem. I think that happened a couple times in Brood War.
Yes, Artosis is very famous for, like, citing that a lot.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we do have the 4th map for TvT on Glittering Ashes. The winner of this faces Rainer, by the way, who did 3-1 Lambo.
Oh, Lambo, okay. Yeah. Lambo beat Hirmarine then. Very nice.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's actually really good, because like especially in these open cups, Hirmarine traditionally has Lambo's number.
Right, yes. The games can be close, but the series hardly ever goes to Lambo. So that is very, very good result for Lambo. Unfortunately, still faltered against Rainer's ZVZ, but it does feel like Lambo is currently at that point in his skill where he can kind of punch up a little bit against one player or one race even at a time, but can't kind of what's the word I'm looking for? He can't stay at a level skill across the board the entire time against every race, against every player. So I do kind of expect that, like, now I'm kind of seeing the trend where if Lambo wins against someone that he's kind of not supposed to, hasn't really so much before, he's going to lose to the next guy. So the unfortunately the Lambo like dream run to the finals seems out of his reach for now. But every step, man, every step up that ladder, maybe eventually Lambo will get it.
I really hope so, because like he's such a good player, and like he puts out so much educational content, and I want to see him succeed, you know?
Yeah, very. He's a Lambro for sure,
Exactly. Well, I'm a Lambro too. Yeah.
Reaper
grenade.
gets a
Can we
very
see a
good
middle
scout.
finger? Yeah, middle finger grenade. Nice.
And that scouts, what did it actually see? Because Special's doing something a little bit different. He is going for Liberators. Maybe plural? He's only going for one right now. Then he didn't go for a Cyclone. He went right into tanks. And he even got that Wood Mine first. He could go for a push up the middle and hope to find the Clem just not expecting it. So he could siege the Liberator offensively. Or he could go for a distraction and try and set up the Liberator just for some good old-fashioned damage. But it is a little bit different. You just can't really... You know something is happening because the starport is on the tech lab, but you cannot be sure if it's Liberator or Medevac.
That poor Reaper died, and then the grenade flung its corpse over, like, just absolutely threw it away. Like it was garbage. That was brutal. This build from... Oh, I love this. He's going to use the Marine. Very nice right there from Clem. This feels like the kind of build that you would do in TvP when you're better than your opponent and you're very confident you can kill them as special.
He does
that's
that
what it feels
sometimes.
like. Yeah, exactly. He did that versus Blade in the series that we cast. Now this has the Liberator as a part of it.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is actually kind of scary. Like really scary.
And the bunker's gonna buy some time. It's not much time at all. In fact, it's arguable that it does. The tanks have a siege up there anyways. But just buying some time until you actually get your Ravens with enough energy and in position usually is good enough. There is a problem though. If Clem tries to break this and miscalculates, as soon as you don't break it, it does probably kill you. You know what I mean? It's breakable, but if you don't, you are dead. So you could either try and break it fast and hope they're not prepared, or you can wait a little while longer. Chooses to kind of go in between. Auto turrets come down. Tanks were on siege for Special for the beginning, so that did help Clem a lot. And actually everything is going to be cleaned up, Medevac included.
Yeah, I think he was going to go for the interference matrices, and then he saw that the tanks were unsieging and then resieging, and he decided to just drop the auto turrets and help with the initial fight. Ooh, nice target fire from Special right there with the auto turret. Takes down one of Clem's Ravens. Still, this is such a good situation for Clem right here. Actually, that Marine tanking a lock-on. Will that be enough for the tank to survive? Nope, he's lock-on's on such a short cooldown that he's going to take out the tank anyways. And, well, with that, GG's going to get called.
Well played. Clem will take the 3-1. Oh, losing out last game, sure. But overall looking quite good in TvT. I think he handled most of those TvTs